What happened behind the scenes at OWN wasn't just another routine production decision. It was a moment that many fans believe should have happened a long time ago. When the network shut down Martell Holt's plan to push Arionne Curry into the center of Love and Marriage Huntsville, it sent a very clear message, not just to him, but to the cast, the producers, and the audience watching closely. This wasn't a quiet suggestion or a minor edit request. It was a firm boundary being set, one that marked a shift in how much control cast members would have over the direction of the show. For years, viewers had complained about forced storylines and recycled drama, and this decision felt like the network finally acknowledging that fatigue. Martell truly believed his plan could reshape the show. In his mind, controversy was the engine that drove ratings. He thought that by putting Arionne Curry front and center, the conversation would explode, social media would light up, and viewership would surge. What he didn't realize, or perhaps refused to accept, was that the audience had already lived through this chapter multiple times. Instead of excitement, the idea sparked frustration. OWN executives reportedly saw this immediately. They understood that bringing Arionne back into the spotlight wouldn't feel like new content. It would feel like reopening a wound that never properly healed, both for the cast and for the viewers who had been emotionally invested since the early seasons. Over the years, Love and Marriage Huntsville built its following because it felt grounded in something real. Even when the drama got messy, it usually served a purpose. Viewers watched marriages break down, friendships strain, and personal growth unfold in ways that felt authentic. There was pain, but there was also progress. Martell's attempt to force Arionne into the center of the narrative felt different. It didn't grow naturally out of the story. It wasn't the result of organic relationships evolving on screen. Instead, it felt calculated, artificial, and driven by desperation rather than storytelling. OWN reportedly recognized that immediately and moved to shut the idea down before it could do lasting damage. Arionne Curry's name has long been associated with chaos in Martell's personal life. Every time she enters the conversation, it brings back old arguments, unresolved emotions, and tension that fans have repeatedly said they are tired of revisiting. For many viewers, her presence represents a cycle that never ends. The same fights, the same power struggles, and the same emotional exhaustion. Martell seemed to believe that increasing her screen time would refresh his storyline. OWN executives, however, saw it for what it was: repetition disguised as reinvention. They understood that audiences don't just want drama, they want movement. They want stories that go somewhere, not ones that spin in circles. Behind the scenes, producers were reportedly frustrated by Martell's insistence. For years, they had worked to strike a balance between conflict and meaningful content. That balance is delicate in reality television. Too little drama and viewers lose interest. Too much and the show becomes overwhelming and toxic. Martell's plan threatened to tip that balance completely. One insider reportedly described it as watching someone walk directly into a fire while insisting it would keep them warm. The network understood that while controversy might spark short-term attention, it often causes long-term damage that is much harder to repair. Fans had been warning about this for seasons. Social media platforms were filled with comments asking for growth, new stories, and genuine change. Viewers repeatedly expressed that they no longer wanted to see recycled arguments or emotionally draining power plays. When rumors began circulating that Martell wanted Arionne to become a central figure, the reaction was swift and overwhelmingly negative. Instead of excitement, fans expressed annoyance and disappointment. Many said they felt exhausted just thinking about it. OWN reportedly paid close attention to these reactions and recognized that pushing forward would risk alienating the show's most loyal audience. Martell's biggest mistake may have been believing he could control the narrative without considering how deeply viewers are invested. Reality television may involve production decisions and editing, but it still relies heavily on trust. Viewers need to believe that what they are watching, even when messy, has some emotional truth behind it. Once that trust erodes, it becomes incredibly difficult to rebuild. Martell's determination to push Arionne into the spotlight made it increasingly clear that his focus was less on telling a meaningful story and more on winning a personal battle. That mindset clashed directly with what the network and the audience wanted. Producers reportedly tried to explain this to Martell multiple times. They emphasized that controversy alone does not make good television. There needs to be balance, growth, and moments that feel earned. Instead of adjusting his approach, Martell reportedly doubled down. He seemed convinced that if he pushed hard enough, the network would eventually give in. OWN's response showed that this era of bending to cast demands was over. The shutdown of Martell's plan became symbolic of a larger shift, one where the network was no longer willing to sacrifice long-term integrity for short-term noise.
This situation also exposed deeper issues within the show itself. For years, fans had sensed that certain storylines were being forced while others were ignored. Important conversations were cut, while small conflicts were stretched across multiple episodes. This imbalance made the show feel less authentic and more manufactured. Martell's attempt to center Arionne only highlighted these problems. Social media became a mirror reflecting the audience's frustration in real time. Tweets, comments, and reaction videos poured in, criticizing the idea before it even materialized on screen. Many fans openly stated that they would stop watching if Arionne became a main focus. Others said the show had already lost its heart and that this move would be the final straw. OWN executives reportedly could not ignore that level of backlash. While Martell continued posting cryptic messages online suggesting that people would eventually understand his vision, the audience had already made up their minds. His posts were met not with curiosity but with sarcasm and disbelief. Instead of building anticipation, they further highlighted the disconnect between Martell and the viewers. Behind closed doors, tensions reportedly reached a breaking point. Producers were scrambling to protect the season and prevent the show from unraveling. Some insiders described the situation as chaotic, saying that stopping Martell felt like trying to stop a flood with bare hands. The more he pushed his agenda, the more unstable things became. OWN ultimately had no choice but to draw a firm line. Allowing the situation to continue would have jeopardized not only the current season, but the future of the entire series. The cast reportedly felt the strain as well. Longtime members who helped build Love and Marriage Huntsville from the ground up were said to be tired of the chaos overshadowing their real stories. They wanted space to share their growth, their challenges, and their journeys without constantly being pulled into drama that no longer served a purpose. Being pushed aside to make room for forced conflict hurt morale and made filming increasingly difficult. Fans noticed the shift. Many said the show no longer felt enjoyable, but emotionally draining. Viewers began comparing the season to a train wreck with no one steering. What once felt like messy entertainment now felt repetitive and toxic. Martell's attempts to justify his plan only added fuel to the fire. Screenshots of his comments circulated online, with fans mocking the idea that controversy alone could save the show. As backlash grew, rumors surfaced that Melody might be getting her own solo show. This possibility excited many fans, who felt she deserved a fresh start away from ongoing chaos. A series focused on healing, motherhood, and personal growth sounded like exactly what viewers had been asking for. Whether or not those rumors are true, they highlighted how ready the audience was to move forward. OWN executives reportedly made it very clear that Arionne would not become a central figure. This decision wasn't about silencing drama entirely, it was about protecting the show's reputation and restoring some sense of balance. Allowing Martell to push his agenda would have sent the message that ratings mattered more than integrity. By shutting it down, OWN showed that they were listening. The tension created by this situation made every interaction feel loaded. Fans analyzed every post, interview, and episode for signs of manipulation. Trust between viewers and the show became fragile. Martell's repeated attempts to insert Arionne into the storyline didn't add depth. Instead, they highlighted a lack of new ideas. Viewers wanted evolution, not repetition. They wanted to see people grow, learn, and move forward, not remain trapped in the same conflicts season after season. Executives reportedly worried about the long-term impact if changes weren't made. Ratings might hold temporarily, but fatigue was undeniable. The energy that once made the show special was fading. OWN knew they had to act before it was too late. This situation raised serious questions about Martell's judgment. Could he recognize when a storyline had run its course? Could he step back and allow space for others to shine? Or was he too focused on staying relevant at any cost? The fallout from the failed plan was intense. Social media became a space for venting, debate, and emotional release. Hashtags trended, memes spread, and comment sections turned into therapy sessions for frustrated viewers. Some anonymous sources even claimed that producers threatened to quit if Arionne was forced into the spotlight, believing the backlash would sink the show. Whether fully accurate or not, these claims underscored how serious the situation had become. This was no longer just about one storyline, it was about the future of the series. Martell reportedly continued holding meetings, attempting to convince executives that Arionne would save ratings. One source claimed executives had to stop him mid-presentation because it was going nowhere. That moment symbolized the disconnect between Martell and everyone else involved. The cast's exhaustion became more visible. Important moments were being cut while petty conflicts were emphasized, creating a distorted version of reality that viewers could feel. However, Martell truly believed he was about to pull off the ultimate reality TV power play. In his head, putting Arionne Curry front and center would shake the table, dominate conversations, and force viewers to stay tuned whether they liked it or not. But from the very first pitch, chaos was already baked into the idea. Arionne is no stranger to controversy. In fact, she has been present in almost every eyebrow-raising, headline-worthy moment of Martell's personal and public life. The idea that her presence could somehow refresh the storyline was met with disbelief by fans and, reportedly, quiet alarm behind closed doors at OWN. One insider allegedly described the plan as a disaster in slow motion, while another joked that it felt like watching someone try to start a fire inside a gas station and acting surprised when everyone panicked. What made this situation even more shocking was how disconnected the plan felt from what Love and Marriage Huntsville was originally built on. This show didn't become popular just because of drama. It resonated because it centered on family, relationships, growth, and real emotional stakes. Even when things got messy, there was a sense that the mess meant something. Viewers watched marriages evolve, friendships fracture, and people attempt to grow, even when they failed. Martell's push to center Arionne felt like abandoning that foundation entirely. It didn't feel like progression, it felt like regression. Fans had already been vocal for years about their exhaustion, tired of recycled fights, tired of the same arguments being dressed up as something new, and especially tired of Martell repeatedly dragging Arionne into the spotlight as a way to control the narrative. And yet, here he was, doubling down on a plan that seemed guaranteed to alienate viewers even further. According to insiders, Martell tried to convince producers that Arionne would bring fresh energy and new viewers, leaning heavily on the idea that controversy alone equals entertainment. But what that argument ignored was the reality that longtime cast members, the people who helped build the show's reputation, were being pushed aside to make room for forced drama. Editing choices became increasingly obvious. Important conversations were cut short or removed entirely, while storylines were awkwardly reshaped to fit this controversial angle. Fans noticed immediately. The moment rumors leaked, social media exploded. Tweets ranged from disbelief to outright anger. Memes spread faster than anyone could keep up with. Instagram stories filled with reactions that were less amused and more disappointed. Many loyal viewers openly said this felt like the moment the show crossed a line it couldn't come back from. What once felt messy but entertaining now felt draining and toxic. Even casual watchers commented that the energy had shifted, and not in a fun way. While the audience was clearly over it, Martell continued posting cryptic messages online, acting as if everyone would eventually understand his vision and fall in line. What he didn't realize was that the audience wasn't confused, they were done. They weren't waiting to be convinced anymore, they had already emotionally checked out. That disconnect between Martell and the viewers became impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, the situation reportedly spiraled fast. Producers were said to be panicking, scrambling to contain the damage before the season completely collapsed. One source described trying to stop Martell as trying to hold back a tsunami with a paper towel. The harder he pushed, the more unstable everything became. It became painfully clear that without Arionne at the center, Martell didn't seem to have a plan. No growth arc, no evolution, no authentic moments to ground the drama. And that realization exposed something fans had sensed for a long time. The issue wasn't just one controversial figure, it was a pattern, a cycle of chaos, manipulation, and recycled conflict that felt impossible to break. The fallout from Martell's failed plan was immediate and explosive. Fans flooded every corner of social media with reactions. Hashtags trended, memes circulated non-stop. Comment sections turned into venting sessions filled with sarcasm, frustration, and accusations. Anonymous sources close to production claimed tensions were at an all-time high, with some producers reportedly threatening to quit if Arionne was forced into the spotlight. They believed the backlash would sink the show faster than anyone could imagine. According to insiders, Martell held multiple behind-the-scenes meetings attempting to convince executives that Arionne would save the ratings, even though those same executives had repeatedly warned him that viewers were no longer buying recycled drama. One source even claimed they had to stop him mid-presentation because it was going nowhere and wasting time. Meanwhile, the cast was reportedly exhausted. Longtime members like Melody and Stormy were said to be quietly voicing their frustration, with one insider revealing that they were tired of chaos overshadowing the stories that actually mattered. Fans noticed this too. Viewers pointed out that meaningful conversations were being cut from episodes, while minor conflicts were stretched and exaggerated. The show began to feel less about family and growth and more about maintaining a never-ending cycle of pettiness. Some viewers compared the season to a reality TV train wreck, except this time the conductor had jumped out and Martell was left in charge.
As if things weren't already intense, rumors began circulating that Melody might be getting her own solo show, one focused on motherhood, entrepreneurship, and healing away from Martell's chaotic influence. Fans immediately embraced the idea, calling it the fresh start the franchise desperately needed. That rumor only intensified the backlash, with viewers openly wondering whether Martell would attempt to interfere or sabotage her growth the way they believe he has before. At the same time, sources hinted that OWN executives were making it very clear that Arionne would not become a central figure, and any attempt to push her forward would be shut down immediately. Insiders described the decision as necessary to protect the network's reputation and prevent a ratings collapse. The tension became so thick that fans began analyzing every cast interaction, every cryptic post, and every deleted story for signs of manipulation. The consensus was clear. Martell's refusal to adapt and his obsession with controlling the narrative were eroding both fan trust and cast morale. The repeated attempts to force Arionne into the storyline weren't just failing, they were actively damaging the energy of the show. Executives reportedly expressed concern that without significant changes, the series could face serious consequences, including declining ratings, loss of loyal viewers, and even internal resignations. Fans compared the situation to a cycle that couldn't be broken. Every season felt like a repeat of the last. Martell's failed plan only confirmed what many already believed. The show needed change, not more of the same. The possibility of Melody moving on gave fans hope that growth and healing were still possible. At the same time, it raised questions about Martell's role in the future of the franchise. OWN's decision to block Arionne from the spotlight sent a strong message. The network was willing to protect its values and its audience. Recycled conflict and manufactured chaos were no longer enough. Viewers wanted authenticity. They wanted real evolution.
Martell's refusal to let go of outdated strategies pushed fans further away. Each attempt made it harder for the show to regain its footing. So what does this mean for Martell? It means he faces a choice. He can continue clinging to the past, repeating the same mistakes while losing audience support, or he can reflect, learn, and evolve. Growth isn't easy, but it's necessary. This moment could be a true turning point, not just for him, but for Love and Marriage Huntsville as a whole. For fans, this decision felt validating. Their voices mattered. Whether the show can rebuild trust remains uncertain, but this was a step in the right direction. One thing is clear, Arionne is not the solution, and Martell's old strategies no longer work. The audience has moved on, and the show must move with them. The next chapters will determine whether Love and Marriage Huntsville can reclaim its heart or fade under the weight of repeated mistakes. Only time will tell, but this moment changed everything.